Supported by Emporious Furniture for all kinds of furnitures, furnishings, and home decorations, and Citron.
The country and the world are going through unprecedented times. So during the unprecedented times, we need to find a new style of leadership, how leadership is evolving with the times. And to gain insights into these different management and leadership styles, we are inviting different leaders from different sectors to talk to us on our 360 Leadership Series. And in today's series, we have with us Mr. Nirvana Chaudhary.
डुन, ह्यारो जस्ता प्रतिष्ठित संस्थाहरू र MIT, LBSबाट EMBA शिक्षा प्राप्त गरेका निर्वाण चौधरीको जन्म सन् 1982 मा व्यापारी परिवारमा भएको थियो। 19 वर्षको उमेरमा निर्वाणले आफ्नै कम्पनी CG फिनको स्थापना गरे र 30 वर्षको उमेरमा उनी 136 कम्पनी र 76 ब्रान्डको पोर्टफोलियो सहितको 2.5 बिलियन अमेरिकी डलरको निजी समूह CG कर्प ग्लोबलको प्रबन्ध निर्देशक बने। मालदिभ्सका लागि सल्लाहकारका रूपमा आफ्नो पहिलेको भूमिकामा उनी मालदिभ्स सरकारद्वारा सर्वोच्च नागरिक पुरस्कार प्राप्तकर्ता भए। उनी WWF फाउन्डेसनको ब्रान्ड एम्बेसेडर, हिमालयन क्लाइमेट चेन्जका संस्थापक, उद्यमी संस्था नेपाल च्याप्टरका सबैभन्दा कान्छो संस्थापक सदस्य र यङ प्रेसिडेन्ट्स अर्गनाइजेसनका संस्थापक सदस्य भइसकेका छन्। सन् 2020 मा निर्वाण ट्याटलरको एसियाको नयाँ अनुहार र एसियाको सबैभन्दा प्रभावशाली उद्यमी भनेर चित्रित गरिएका निर्वाण चौधरी CNBC को युवा टक्समा चित्रित गरिएका पहिलो नेपाली हुन्। सन् 2021 मा उनले एसियाली चेम्बरहरूको सङ्घको अवधारणा र स्थापना गरे र विश्व आर्थिक फोरमद्वारा युवा ग्लोबल लिडरको रूपमा मनोनित भए। उद्यमीहरूका लागि रोल मोडल र परिवर्तनलाई प्रेरित गर्ने नेता श्री निर्वाण चौधरीलाई आजको यस कार्यक्रममा स्वागत गरौँ।
Welcome to the show, Nirvana.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Nirvana, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's such a pleasure.
As you said, it's very coincidental. Business 360, Suru Garda Pani, you are the first person on the cover. And today we're shooting the first episode of 360 Leadership. So, you're the first guest. So I think it's...
This time I've got my royalty card and all of that.
So thank you.
No, it's such a pleasure to be here always.
And moreover, it's great catching up with you after such a long time.
Absolutely.
So I think the show is about, so what we want to do is actually talk about leadership and the humane side of leadership. And especially, अहिलेको global context or परिप्रेक्ष्यमा अहिले कस्तो छ भनेपछि, we are seeing a lot of unprecedented times. What type of leadership is required? How are we adapting to that change? So we want to talk about that type of leadership. And since you've been a leader, and something that I really admire about you is that you always put yourself out there, It's not just about business. It's about how you bring up your kids, your family, sports, spirituality, music. So 360 leadership ko kura garda chai. That's why we wanted to have you on the show and talk about these aspects in the show. Because I'm sure you inspire a lot of people. And with this, I think we can learn a lot from you. And this is how we want to take leadership forward. We all have different styles of leadership. Some are authoritarian, some are servant leadership and so on. So in your definition, what does leadership mean to you? What is your definition of leadership?
So firstly, Saurabh, it's such a pleasure being here, and I'm really humbled with your kind words. Me personally, even as a family, we always have considered ourselves, a small person from a small company in a small country with big dreams, right? Leadership, in a lot of contexts like fashion, is very, very independent. has a mixed component of things that I'm learning on a day-to-day basis. My definition of leader was you had to be either a successful businessman, or you had to be the head of a state, or you had to be a chief of the army. That was the three definitions of leader. So while growing up, I never even in my wildest dream imagined that I would get into business. I really enjoyed art. I enjoyed creativity so much. Growing up with my parents, my uncles, my grandparents, again, coming from different generations, with different background, with different upbringing style. One values passed on each generation. So the fundamental values being instilled in you was intact. Okay, that's not going to change. And I think that the entire premises of that value is humility. We've always, our family individually, we've always been told that no matter how big individually you become, the more grounded you have to be. You have to respect individuals, all of that. Combining that with your inherent style of what you're really passionate about. Now, being someone who didn't really want to get into the business world and was more passionate about the art world, becoming an artist, getting into music.
This is what I was coming to,
Right.
This is what I was coming to. I mean, coming from a legacy business,
Right.
I mean, were you thrust into this leadership position, or were you given a choice in your family, or was it a natural progression?
So it was, it's 50-50 to answer your question, but it was a natural flow. If you understand and realize where to channelize, how to channelize that creativity into any other aspect in your day-to-day life, I think it's that passion towards creativity which takes a shape in any different sector or phase in your life. So I knew, being the oldest in my generation, I had to sort of get involved in the family business. I remember my father used to tell, I have two younger brothers, he used to tell all of us, okay, whatever you guys want to be when you grow up, pursue your dreams, but make sure you're the best at it. Make sure you do it honestly. But I think I used to have a little bit of an eye coming towards me saying, maybe that's not applicable to you. You're the oldest, you must take on the mantle.
You have so much responsibilities back home.
Right, expectations. But then you have to imagine giving Lata Mangeshkar a cricket bat, It's like literally telling her to go and become a world cricket champion. So, but you have to be able to condition your mind accordingly. Okay, I have to do this. I have to start getting exposed to this. But what do I have with me is that passion of creativity. How can I channelize that creativity into business? And believe it or not, till date, I don't consider myself a businessman per se. I would relate myself more towards an entrepreneur, someone who's a dreamer, creativity that is being channelized into vision. So to me, that is one style of leadership, which the fundamental of that is respecting the people as you're growing in the process. That's very, very important.
I think that's one of the most important values I think that our families have taught us, humility, and especially I can relate to that because with my grandfather and very similar values. And another thing that really struck a chord with me was that यो वातावरणमा हामीले चाहिँ तीन पुस्ताको हाम्रो अब generation, I think yours is also a second generation, third generation नै हो. भएपछि I think when we are brought up in that environment, somehow we feel that sense of responsibility. No matter what opportunities you have outside, यहाँ त यत्रो जिम्मेवारी छ, नेपालमै गर्न सकिन्छ, नेपालमै गर्नुपर्छ, जति हामी मेहनत लगानी गर्छौं प्रायोरिटी चाहिँ नेपालमै गर्नुपर्छ भनेर चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ आई थिंक भित्रैबाट हामीलाई चाहिँ आई थिंक यु फील very much towards that. And coming, I think we'll be discussing about the investments that you have in Nepal, how you've taken it forward, and not just in Nepal and globally also. But coming back to the legacy, and what happens is that with family businesses and legacy businesses, कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भनेपछि अलिकति दृष्टिकोण चाहिँ हामी प्रति भनौं. अब I am also a third generation, but I'm enjoying this, because I get asked a lot of these questions when I go for interviews. But now I'm on the other side and I get to ask you, and I get to learn from you. अब a silver spoon भन्छ नि, born with a silver spoon. Oh, you have everything. You are so privileged. Which in a sense could be true. But what are the pros and cons towards having a silver spoon and born into an affluent family and not having to struggle from the grassroots as such with the basic needs? तर त्यसको पनि धेरै pros and cons responsibilityहरु होला. So what do you feel? With a silver spoon, what are the pros or what are the cons and the struggles?
Now, when we are born with a silver spoon, 100%, that is also very relative. Someone who is, in our context in Nepal, who could be having just basic means of having a simple home, 2 meals a day, having a simple mode of transportation, in one context, relatively can also be born with a silver spoon in comparison with someone much, much below. But then what has he done of his life from there? How has he progressed himself? How has he made a name for himself? How has he created wealth for himself? How has he been an inherent part of getting his entire family with that value system? That's my context of wealth. That's my context of the silver spoon. Also comes with a lot of values that's been inculcated within us. I know, like, one of the things I missed out some, but I really, really remember is, whenever you host your annual the dinner at your home, and it goes down to the basic roots. Now, you have the luxury of getting the most fanciest table or doing the same event at the most luxurious hotel. But, you and your family, each of you, literally taking your guests as God, welcoming them, serving them the food which your ancestors or your forefathers got. That's value to me, So, being born with a silver spoon is very relative, but at the same time, yes, we have been fortunate at our level where our forefathers have worked hard and got their institution and themselves to a particular level. But the real question arises, what do we do from there? Are we someone who's going to go from 10 to 100? If you're accumulating your wealth from 10 to 100, you'll still go through the same set of challenges. But going from 100 to 1,000, you'll still go through the sets of similar challenges, but of a different magnitude. So that question always comes to me, that should I just relax? I know my father's worked hard. We don't need to do this. But no. Exactly. Exactly. But the minute you want to be your end goal is different. You have to take the legacy forward. You have to take your family and your parents and your fathers and your grandfathers, that institution they've created forward. You didn't choose to be born in this family, but now this responsibility is bestowed on you, Anjali. So now, if you don't do justice to that role and that responsibility, then I feel you're not doing justice at all. You've been put in this place. You have to be able to take it to the next level. You have, no matter how many zeros you add in your balance sheet, I'm sure you'll still enjoy having the simple food cooked at your home or your favorite restaurant, or you will still enjoy living in the home that was, that you grew up with all your family members. I think the real wealth which people have a misconception about is not about the fact of adding those zeros in your balance sheet. Today, one of the biggest satisfactions I get is, our family is expanding globally. But कुनै ठाउँमा जस्तो वाइवाई फ्याक्ट्री सोभियामा बङ्गलादेशमा खोले पनि फ्याक्ट्री सुरु भन्दा पहिला पनि what I look forward to is त्यो इनोग्रेसन भन्दा पहिला हामीले त्यो नेपालको झण्डालाई we open it up. That gives me a satisfaction.
Pride. A sense of pride and belonging in your nation. Taking Nepal to the world, as you say. So I'll come to that. But before that, something that I personally want to ask you, which I have also faced in my line of business, is that you're always compared, as you said. Because बुवा बाजेको अब एउटा चाहिँ contribution हेरेर you always compared. But when you get into that, how would you differentiate yourself, or how alike are you to Binodai's style of management or decision taking, or even your brothers Varun, Rahul? Is it similar or is it different? How would you say your style of management is compared to your family's?
So I think everyone is special, unique, different at the same time. I think one particular environment, business environment, you probably needed a management style of what my father had. He adapted to it. He started the first nightclub, wanted to go and study chartered accounting outside. So again, someone who in that context had to completely change his priorities and be aligned and get into a family business, and then still had that goal and that dream and that vision to reach the top. He had to, in that particular environment, adapt and work in a particular management style. Does that management style fit in today's context? 90% no. Do him and me have the same goal? 100%. We are completely aligned in terms of where we want to take this organization forward. Does he have the strengths I have? Most probably no. Does he have the strengths or the positives that I have? Maybe no. But the whole idea is, how do we learn from each other, and which are the weaknesses which, after doing an introspection, which I feel, I know, कि यो area is my weak point. I better ask my father, given his experience and his wisdom, and get it checked. And we have a rule that instead of having a cross argument in a boardroom, let us go sit as two individuals. Either you convince me or I convince you. But once we are convinced, we are speaking the same thing. So there's definitely, because of their management style is different, but the end goal is the same. Okay? Now today, if you want to go to Pokhara, you'll probably ride your Hayabusa or one of your fast, your Honda. Someone will take a car, 4-wheeler, but someone might want to take a helicopter, but will reach. So there are pros and cons, fast and slow, everything, but end goal is to reaching a destination. And in the process of reaching a destination, learning, picking up the right quality which fits into your weaknesses and reaching there that effectively and efficiently. So management styles has to be different, otherwise there's something wrong. But all of this management style, the core fundamental values are the same. Okay? So having the ability to listen, learn. The day you say that, hey, I know everything, I don't need to, I think that's the first step of your downfall. So you have to be a student. You're a student of life. It's very true. You have to constantly open up your knowledge to continuously learn from people. If you're wrong, accept it, correct it, and move on. And even between my brothers, they've got such fantastic strengths that they work with. Forget about them. I learn so much from my own children who are like 8 and 5-year-old. The entire intent of their purity, or not mincing words.
So 8 is your daughter?
8 is my daughter. Araya.
And the younger one is 5?
Younger one is going to be 5. His name is Arhan. And his name is Arhan Chaudhary.
Okay.
Again, it was like a tribute to my father that we kept his name as his middle name. But it's a constant, you learn from your core family members, you learn from your colleagues, you learn from a random person you'll meet in an evening. So, I really enjoy that journey a lot.
मलाई के लागेको भने अब नेपालको coming back a little bit to the नेपालको वातावरणको कन्टेक्स्टमा I think even for you, for all of us, this has been one of the most challenging times for us. We've not seen such recession. यत्रो आर्थिक मन्दी भइरा अब यो झन्डैले 3 वर्ष भइसक्यो र somewhere something we all feel that we should do, to ease off, whether it's the policies, whether it's the priority on हाम्रो अर्थतन्त्रलाई नै जोगाउनलाई चाहिँ इकोनोमिक प्रायोरिटी नै नभएको हो कि. So what do you feel, would actually ease off if you were to say 3 things that if you could change immediately or wish to change immediately that would improve ease of doing business in Nepal? What would be those 3 things?
I think number 1, hands down, I would get someone who is a stakeholder in the economy and who is a businessman, an industrialist, an entrepreneur, to really take the lead in actually making that policy, right? Number 1 would be that. Economic stakeholder to be firstly conceptualizing the entire larger economic play happening in the country. The roadmap clear hona parega. Where are we today? It's not like we take a policy, make certain policies today, which has an implication 1 year, 5 year, 10 year down the line. So I think that level of competency needs to come on board, I feel, number 1. Number 2, you look at a country like India. As a India, different states are competing with each other. On what? I mean, each state is saying, I'm going to provide you 10-year tax holiday, I'm going to give you subsidy on raw material, transport subsidy. But what do you want? I'll give you your free land. What do you want? You have to provide employment. This should be the minimum wage. Do it. We'll provide you capital subsidy, all of that. So in this context, when we have an open border with our neighboring countries, how are you meant to compete on manufacturing products, on producing goods that you can look at beyond the border of your own country for getting that economies of scale? So you have to change your entire strategy. I think the biggest, more than policy, is if we have policy that is stable, governance that is stable, that there's no roadblocks or or stones that are put in between. That's all we require. I think in Nepal, we are so entrepreneurial in our own individual rights, from an individual to businesses to business families. And we become so resilient with these last 30 years of different models of the governance that's come in, that we will adapt fast and we'll get out of it really fast and we'll make something good out of it. But why are the youth leaving the country? Because there's instability happening in the country in terms of the politics. There is no future visibility.
They don't see hope.
But for people like you and me who are invested here, today you and me and a lot of us can travel anywhere we want. We can live in a comfortable life anywhere we want. Why are we here? It's not only because we are invested heavily here. It's not only because our forefathers have been here. Kati somehow will be emotionally attached. It's because you and I indefinitely from the core of our heart believe in our country.
Yes.
That हामीले पनि यस्तो सोचेर बाहिर जानको लागि कसले बनाउँछ यो देश?
Opportunity छ.
Opportunity create गर्नै पर्छ हामीले. Despite the odds, environment मा राम्रै छ भने त पुरा every whole world will come here.
Exactly. Very rightly put. Opportunity छ हैन, opportunity create गर्नुपर्छ. तर एउटा मलाई पनि एकदमै personal question which I want to ask you or maybe learn from you. I've been involved in various organizations. I'm talking about work and politics. Right? Is there a balance or can we work professionally without politics being involved? Because I worked in many organizations for over a decade and I worked and I delivered results. But at the time when I had to take the leadership, because I failed at politics or I didn't know politics, I couldn't be at the helm of that institution. So, त्यो विकृति हो कि? Is that a part of a learning of a leader that you need to balance between politics and work?
So, firstly, there's a lot I need to learn from you, right? The way I look into it is the organization that I am currently vice president of, CNI. If I'm able to bring all the stakeholders of the economy together, if you're able to engage with each other, share and learn from each other's experiences,
learnings, failures,
and collectively go in at one voice, irrespective of who's sitting at the helm, to me, I'm okay. I sometimes think, what if I had not been there? There's some issues which are not only related to you as a business, okay? It's a sector-related issue.
Yes.
It's the future of the sector-related issues. त्यो issues मा अरू धेरै stakeholders पनि हुन्छ. What do you do then? Are you going to call each and every stakeholder and say, let's create a group and do it? You could do it. But is this sustainable? No. You need an organization like a community, like a society, like a group where you are part of. Okay? So I think, you're young, right? You still have a long way to go. I still feel that definitely business, politics and politics in business should be kept aside. But again, I think what really differentiates an individual is that larger picture. Okay? In the process of counting the trees, we shouldn't miss out on the forest.
Supported by Emporious Furniture for all kinds of furnitures, furnishings, and home decorations, and Citron.
You've been in the billionaire. Binoda is known as the first billionaire, Forbes ma. And we see a Nepali brand that's been taken globally and represented globally. You've also been involved with various leaders, various social activities, sustainability, climate change. You've been the first Nepali speaker at Davos, which is, amazing. Hats off to you. That's something that none of us have been able to do. You're the first person. I'm sure many, hopefully we will follow. तर इन्भेस्टमेन्टको कुरा गर्दा एउटा प्रश्न धेरैले सोध्न चाहेको तपाईलाई सबै बाहिरै हो कि how much of your investment is in Nepal? How much? Because when you say billionaire, Nepal is your priority ho ki now you want to take Nepal to the world, which is both depends on the business, the opportunities that you have, how you are expanding. What is your perspective? How is Chaudhary Group taking business forward in Nepal and globally? So
there are two aspects of it. As a family, we take pride. We are a Nepali company. We've been taking Nepal to the world. Our thought process informally was Dabur र liver नेपालमा आउँछ भने हामीहरु किन India Maya worldwide Zana Mildena. So, we're always driven by that fire, okay, that we also need to take our products outside. But unfortunately, there is no proper structure which allows you to do it as a Nepali company.
A law.
Majority of our investments in the last 10 years, when I say majority means 70% plus, have been in Nepal. Going forward, 80% of our investments will continue to be in Nepal. So contextually, I've not had a platform to be able to say this. Otherwise, today our company would contribute to, almost 2.5% of the total tax collected in the country. In the last 3 years, we've launched 6 new companies in 6 new sectors and heavily invested. And I feel these are the new businesses which are going to be the fastest growing businesses anywhere in the world for us. I am based here for the last 22 years because of our families, our group's belief in the country's short-term, mid-term and long-term opportunity.
Sure.
But to answer your question, contextually, our investments, our company is majority invested and will continue to be invested in Nepal. Now, the second part of your question is, if inherently we were always known as a food company, YY, taking Nepal, YY, into financial services, into hospitality, while these 3 sectors will continue to grow, I think in the next 5 years, our entire focus is changing into completely new sectors. So from banking, conventional brick and mortar banking, a lot of our focus is going into fintech, IT, telecom, data centers, all of that. A lot of our focus is going into energy and energy mobility. We are a firm believer of the renewable energy in Nepal, solar, hydro. What goes around with it is cement, building infrastructure, EPC companies. So they're all part of the ecosystem of that vertical. Okay? Where is our growth is going to be towards renewable energy? Where better in the world than our own country? We talk about geopolitics, right? Geopolitically, the larger countries are not able to grow, or they don't have too much of elbow room to grow and expand their business, right? But at the same time, countries like us is where we should take advantage of those opportunities. Like look at Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. I'm just going, I'm a region man where culturally we are very similar, right? Look at the way today Bangladesh is one of the fastest growing countries in terms of GDP in the world last 5 years. Sri Lanka has gone into a particular economic recession, but if you go there and see the infrastructure and their overall per capita, it's a different level. Their population is 2/3 of ours, right? But in our context, it's very, very important to take advantage of a larger geopolitical play. Secondly, you have companies over the last decade and a half that have become big. They want to go cross-border. But, when they look at a country like Nepal, they say it's not a big country, but it's not a too smaller country as well. Now, do they want to allocate their management bandwidth in Nepal? No. But would they rather prefer to have a local player who understands the dynamics of running business in Nepal? Yes. That's why I think the opportunity for partnering and collaborating with world-class companies.
You've been networking and representing Nepal amongst the global elite, global leaders in terms of Bill Gates. You've been interacting with Jack Ma, Mr. Adani. So when you talk about such individuals, and when you get a chance to have an interaction with them or when you talk to them, what is their perspective towards Nepal? I mean, do they feel Nepal is a small country, there's no opportunities, or what is their perspective? Do they feel, Nepalma चाहिँ के गर्नुपर्छ सम्भावना छ, whether it could be from a business perspective, social perspective, or natural resources? Is that resource recognized by global leaders, business leaders?
But I just want to answer your question on a lighter note with a small joke. So, different gods were making countries, right? And the main god said that Nepal tamo banauchu, and he said, I'm going to put the most majestic mountains, Himalayas, Everest, Annapurna in this country. I'm going to have all the rivers flow from there so that, tomorrow the hydropower potential is the largest in this country. I'm going to cover it with 70% of forest, flora, fauna, biodiversity, herbs you can't find anywhere to cure, the most fatal medicinal. And other gods are like, God, please hang on here. What are you doing? Sab kura Nepal they were aru country like he said, don't worry, I'll create such a political framework that none of this is utilized. So, it's a very subtle message in what I'm trying to tell you, is when you're meeting these world successful personalities, once in their lifetime, they want to come there. And when they come here, they fall in love with the country.
And the people, the genuine love of the people.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's there. And these things cannot be politicized or hidden, People definitely outside recognize the Gurkhas. They know that with people who are fearless, who have led different countries' war with honesty, that's what Nepal has given birth to.
Coming to a lighter side, now I want to know your point of view. So I'm going to give you a few names of few products, and I need a short point of view from your side. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Joe Biden.
Joe Biden had a track record as a general in the army with discipline. Politics, I think in today's context, you need a different level of a political mindset.
Okay. Steve Jobs and Apple.
A designer, an artist. And I think what really differentiates a great entrepreneur is that the great entrepreneur will be an artist. And that's what Steve Jobs is.
Are you Apple person or Android person? Just.
I have been kidnapped and hijacked by Apple. From my iWatch to my they've just got me locked in.
Yeah, I can understand. Okay, this is interesting. Current noodles.
Current noodles, wow. So, Rampam and Mayos came up. They really shook us up, okay? Because, we were a monopoly in terms of the noodles. It was a household name, why, and suddenly these two brands come in with strong marketing play, competitive in price because, they were stakeholders with deep pockets. That shook us up. It was tough, but in hindsight, we were very happy that they bhai. It woke us up. We corrected ourselves, learnings. We were not innovating products at that time. We were not expanding our distribution. We were taking things for granted to a large extent. So those kind of competition is good.
Healthy competition is great.
Healthy competition is great. To some extent, healthy competition is great. Current noodles, one thing I'm very, very happy is that these guys have come up. I think a new generation has come up trying to do things differently. They're not compromising on the product quality, coming up with the right kind of a narrative with packaging, etc. It's definitely coming up with newer SKUs that we hadn't thought of. So it's someone who we feel has come in with a very innovative, out-of-the-box thinking, which we really welcome. And we are trying to do that same thing better and then again reach that next level of complacency that we had got into, that we again need to be far more aggressive.
What's your point of view on YY? Not as YY, I know YY, but you want to have kancho YY ki pakako YY?
For a long time I won't say I'm a YY fan. I'm saying this for the first time, right?
Dealers don't indulge.
No, I never enjoyed it till the time my daughter really started to make it herself and give it to me. And I don't know whether it's YY or the joy of having it from my daughter's hands. But I must tell you, even my daughter is going to be turning 8. But ever since she was 5 or 6, or summer competitions, hoarding board, she gets really, really upset. She's so I know. I just need to work on her values, but her business acumen is on the right direction.
I think genetics.
Yeah.
Hereditary. So last is a little serious issue. Your point of view on the new Nepal electricity deal that went through with India now. So we want to get a transmission line, we want to start exporting.
So it's inevitable, right? This should have happened 20 years ago. 25 years ago. Why it didn't happen 25 years ago? Because of a chicken and egg situation. If we build power, what is the rate we're going to sell it to you for? Or if they build power, our country is getting exploited, right? Now, in the same context, you look at Bhutan, who over 2 decades ago India is our natural partner for exporting power. South Asian countries are our national partners for buying power, right? Our partners, our neighbors in the north do not need power from us, right? They're developed and built enough renewable energy, clean energy power for themselves. So what Bhutan's done, they've gone, built a power station in Bhutan, right? They've not taken the water or the power station away. They bought it at a price which suffices the entire investment that they've done. But at the same time, they provided enough returns to Bhutan as a country, enough free electricity to Bhutan as a country, that Bhutan, with even smaller population, has progressed. They're able to channelize that revenue to free education, free health. Today, Bhutan as a government sends their top students to Harvard and Stanford, etc. Now, in the similar context in Nepal, we should have done this long time ago. Just the India-Nepal border requires 30,000 megawatts.
Yes.
Bangladesh needs to convert their current 10,000 coal, gas-based power to renewable power. That's 40,000 today's context. Going forward with demand in each of these countries growing up, just imagine what we can do. Now, who's going to start building the power for that? So we need to invite the right stakeholders to invest and build power, not only for our country's consumption, but also for export, because that can be a transformation, pivotal
foreign exchange earner for us.
For our country, which can transform our country.
Because right now we're only relying on remittances, a single source. We need to spread the risk. And
Switzerland has their Rolexes and their chocolates. This can be a Rolex and chocolate, while we share similar geography.
Very, very nicely put. But I can't let you go without talking about... I know you sing a lot. I'm competing with you also. I'm trying to do some songs. But here I can't... in this field, I can't compete with you. You've written a book for your daughter, Araya's Fables. And I was very touched when I saw this on social media. Now I have it. Of course, I'll read it. And I know you're working on one more book for your son, right? So tell us a little bit about this.
Children, when they come into your life, changes your perspective towards life itself. To me, when my daughter was born, my first child, it changed my perspective. It wasn't something that I was foregoing, but it was just a beautiful phase that I'd started. So I really used to enjoy putting her to sleep, telling her bedtime stories. And, you're making up stories relating to her age, relating to her environment, the things she shares feedback with you on her school or friends. And so you're always making a contextual story as you're going forward. So once I started telling her a story of Ikigai, this Japanese concept. And 2 weeks later, she says, Papa, can you tell me the story of Ikigai again? I'm like, you are listening to all that I'm saying? Of course I listen to all your stories, this and that. And I'm like, listen, I have to document this. So I started sort of recording it on my watch and so that it doesn't disturb her. And whenever I used to travel, I used to make it a point that on my flight, I used to transcribe it, correct it, get her drawings, illustrate it. And it was actually meant to be one book, only for her. My wife read it and she's like, wow, this is, you should publish more of it. And I just gifted my mom a pediatric ward in Kantibal. And so whoever buys it, we can channelize the earnings there. So I thought that was okay. And I think about 10,000 copies have been sold. I'm sure mostly by friends.
This is truly inspirational, and not just about the book, but the way, as you put it, the marbles, you have your heart in the right place, you have your priorities in the right place, and the future direction that you're heading to is phenomenal, I'm sure.
But as a father, there's always the other side of the coin, right? Now you have to do something for your son. So
equality.
Gender balance, equality. And I just finished. He's going to be turning 5 in May. I've just finished writing a book called something you'll really enjoy the topic, Beyond Wonder Woman, given your DC Marvel world that we are sitting around. It's called Beyond Wonder Woman. How do I educate and try and teach a 5-year-old that the world that he'll grow up in, he needs to start respecting women. He needs to start celebrating women's success. Sharing with him experiences of a lot of Nepali women who've done well.
Yes.
So that's about my next book, but I'll make sure the first copy is sent to you.
I mean, that's a very important point. Instilling family values, gender equality, and promoting and empowering women. Because majority of our population is women, 52%, and our mothers, sisters. I think that is something very important, and I'm really inspired and looking forward to getting the book, Nirvana.
Supported by Emporious Furniture for all kinds of furnitures, furnishings, and home decorations, and Citron.
So I think we're heading towards the end of the session. So now we'll quickly close with a round of rapid fire.
Okay.
So the one person who always has your back.
My father.
Your 3 a.m. friend.
Salman Khan. My closest friend Vikram. And my cousin in Kathmandu. His name is Aditya, Vicky.
Nice. Where you feel home.
When the minute I've entered home and my 2 kids come, it's like a contest between them and they come running to hug me. That's that 3-4 seconds, and my wife is watching who's running the fastest. That to me is the feeling of being at home.
How very sweet. Best way to unwind.
Sudarshan Kriya, meditation.
Your favorite place in the world.
It would be any room or a house or a thing which has some water sound coming, or even the view of an ocean or a view of a sea. It really gives me a great sense of calm in my mind whenever I'm seeing water body around me.
Nice. Tea or coffee?
I've not had coffee for 7-8 years now. So the Superman cup is going to be untouched. I really enjoy our, old school cutting chai.
Cutting chai. Nepali chai.
Nepali chai.
Hair of a goat or tail of a lion?
So you're talking to a vegetarian. Say that again.
Head of a goat or tail of a lion? You want to be head of a goat, a head of something small, or tail of something very big?
I've always, till today, I feel I'm very, very shy. And that's always mistaken a lot of times for maybe, he's not coming out, he's not looking into eyes because maybe he's very arrogant and big. That's not the point. I still feel I'm very shy most of the time. So I always like to stay at the back. I hate being in the front. In fact, I most of the time make excuses and reasons to not make me the CEO or chairman of any companies unless very, very, there's no other choice. So I want to always stay at the back.
Okay, great. So you prefer being tail of the lion. So the last book you read?
So, the last book I really enjoyed reading was this book called Shantaram. It's this 630-page book by this guy called Gregory Roberts, right? And, in YPO, there was a particular program where he's an Australian, ran away from the jail, lived in the slums in Bombay. There's actually a Apple TV movie also, series also. So when you would meet him as a YPO, there was a particular program, he would take you through the Leopold Cafe or that. That just made the entire book experience much, much better. But every day without fail for the last 782 days, I hear an audiobook every day.
So you actually like reading books, audiobooks or ebooks? What do you prefer?
I've graduated or evolved from actual reading book, which I love the feel of. But now I just really enjoy reading synopsises of just the bullet points of podcast books.
What's on your playlist currently?
It's very funny you ask, actually. So I grew up listening to soft rock, like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Wall album, Metallica, the Black Album, Aerosmith. And I sort of really went into this phase of graduating to deep house, Sufi music, a playlist called Rock and Roller. Of my tracks I used to listen 25, 30 years back. So I'm just really reminiscing those moments with
nostalgic.
That playlist.
Nice.
But I was just listening to, Come Together by Aerosmith as I drove into your office.
Nice, very nostalgic. You can share it with me. Maybe I'll listen to the same tracks. I think we're now almost the same generation. Now you can't lie on this one. Your first paycheck amount.
We've never had paychecks per se, but my first earning was 63 pounds. I was working in a restaurant in London, in a Nepali restaurant. So although I got one Nepali meal at the end of the night, but I was given £1 a day. And I worked there for 63 days.
Nice.
So I got 63 pounds. Till date I have it, which has really taught me, that day has taught me the value of what money is.
Very nice. What can't money buy?
Time.
What can money buy?
Everything else.
And success is?
Success is going to bed at night with a clear conscience and a smile saying you've done your best for the day.
Thank you so much, Nirvana. I mean, it was amazing having you, and we talked about so many things, from what inspires you, how you run your family business, your perspective, and your commitment towards Nepal, the nation, the people, and the opportunities in Nepal, and the perspective also we learned about the different styles of management, the perspective of Nepal perceived from an outsider, global leader's point of view, and also the very important things in life that you consider important, which I think is a great learning for all of us. Business is there, we want to continue to invest, continue to grow, but ultimately it's heart at peace, how you contribute back towards society, your country, your friends, and your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to having you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Definitely looking forward to the new book that you've written for your son. I'm really excited to get a copy of the book. So thank you so much, Nirvana.
Thank you so
much. It was a pleasure having you.
Such a pleasure as well.
Look forward to seeing you again. And this is a small souvenir from our side, 360-degree leadership.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's beautiful. You're looking much smarter than me in your life as well. Thank you so much, Saurabh.
Thank you, Nirvana.
Supported by Emporious Furniture for all kinds of furnitures, furnishings, and home decorations, and Citron,